We actually have audio of the interruption there. So let's see if this audio works.
Bernie Sanders, I would like to welcome you to this place called Seattle, which is actually occupied Duwamish land, stolen, and hypocritically named after Chief Sealth. We are located in King County, where the silhouette of Martin Luther King reigns high, while we spend $210 million building a new jail to imprison black children.
So what you can hear that they've actually at this point commandeered the stage, and you're hearing people yell in the background. But and please listen to the yelling, because it's kind of interesting here.
Welcome to Seattle, where our Seattle Police Department has been under federal consent decree for the past 3 years, and yet has been riddled by use of force, racial profiling, and scandals throughout the year. I want to welcome you, Bernie, to Westlake, where we said Black Lives Matter on Black Friday. We shut down Westlake, and we shut down the tree lighting, and we have anointed this land, saying we will fight for Black lives no matter what it takes. Welcome to Seattle, where the Seattle School Department suspends black students at a rate 6 times higher than their counterparts. Bernie, welcome to Seattle, where we have undergone intense gentrification in the Central District, where used to be the only place where we black people could live legally in Seattle. Welcome.
Are you hearing the background? Are you hearing the background?
All the
Imani?
booing?
The booing and like apparently the recording of who or wherever they are right now is right by people who are apparently not amused by the fact that this is happening, and so you can hear them like just being annoyed actively as the protest continues. But let's
apparently one of them suggested that the protesters be tased, which, you know, coming from white progressives in and of itself is problematic. But secondly, there are black women protesting violence against black people. And your response as a white progressive, who I'm sure you would swear over your organic kale smoothie that you're black people's ally, but your suggestion is to tase them. Let's talk about how fucked up that is.
This is what we have to deal with here. As it's already been stated, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the ruthless murder of Michael Brown. It is time that we honor that here and now. We've already done it. Bernie says that he's...
I'm sorry, wait, what?
Did someone say we've already done it?
Someone actually yelled out, "We've already done." I would like to be clear that I have not doctored this recording. This is something that you can go find on the YouTubes. I did not doctor. This is so as they're calling out for this, they're literally saying like we are looking for. Hold on, I'll rewind it back just a couple seconds just so that we're clear on what was said, because I don't want to misstate.
Don't want to Fox News it.
It is time that we honor that here and now. We've already done it. Bernie says that he's about the people, about grassroots movement. The biggest grassroots movement in this country right now is the Black Lives Matter movement. So right now, we are going to honor this space, and we are going to honor the memory of Michael Brown, and we are going to honor all of the Black lives lost this year, and we're going to honor the fact that I have to fight through all these people who said, my life matters! Yeah. That I have to get up here in front of a bunch of screaming white racists to say my life fucking matters! How dare you!
So
they didn't really like being called racist, did they?
Well, I would like to also point out something here. She didn't call everyone in the audience racist. She said, I have to get up in here in front of screaming white racists.
So the people who were screaming,
and booing at her, that's what she is actively calling out, and specifically saying, like, I have to get in front of a bunch of screaming white racists to say that my life matters. And immediately because of the lovely concept of white fragility. Obviously, she's talking about everyone in that
white
audience,
person, yep.
and that is unacceptable.
Yep.
And so, as a woman, literally crying out.
Yeah, like
literally crying out
yeah.
that they're fighting for the fact to make people understand that her life matters. The response to that is boo, get off stage, how dare you, how dare you, how dare you. This is, I am not
Negroes always just fucking it up for the nice white people who just wanted to hear Bernie Sanders talk about Social Security and Medicare.
I mean that's what they wanted, but I'm gonna continue letting this cook.
How dare you! Right now is do what people across the country are doing this weekend and have. How dare!
Do you hear them? They're freaking out, like they're calling us all racist. How dare you? That's the flip
White
out right
fragility.
there. Now, please note. In the whole call out around this, after they've talked about the fact that people are still dying and that people are talking about their lives matter, about like a lot of the issues that are like in Seattle, the reality, the history of it, the action that they hear above all of it. How dare you? You call me an I'm like the worst thing that possibly can happen. I know that you might leave from here, and literally people in the audience are calling for your tasing or whatever. But how dare you call me that?
Since the day that Mike Brown was murdered, they left in the street. How dare she call me a racist? I won't. And we are going.
What did she say?
How dare she call me a racist? Something.
She sounded like she said I walked or I worked or I did something. She walked with MLK. Did she march with Dr. King?
I'll rewind it.
How dare she call me a racist? I won't. And we are going to.
I couldn't hear it exactly.
You're going to call me a racist. We are going to have a moment of silence from. How dare you! For 4.5 minutes. Which is representative of the 4.5 hours his body lay in the street. And we'll start when everyone's silent. You will not tell me what to do, young lady.
How is this any different than a KKK rally?
I'm
serious.
I will push back on that. I don't it's like, please note there, because it's a mixture of an audience in there. I don't believe this is the equivalent of a KK rally. I do believe
the way
that
they
there
are
are
yelling
some serious problems in this, and it's very indicative of and a bigger issue within the movement and the space overall. And it's something that has been called out numerous times. And this is yet another example of this particular type of event happening. And so the young women who, were there, I believe it was Mara Jacqueline and Marissa Janae Johnson were there. I believe Marissa Johnson was the one who was speaking at that moment. I actually believe we have her on the line. Marissa, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Elon. How's it going?
Hi, good to talk to you.
I'm amazed that you're asking how's it going with us. How's it going with you, madam?
I'm great. I feel good. I helped launch a national conversation around race and electoral politics and respectability that's still going strong 2 days later. I could not be better.
Awesome.
And so it's oh my god! But that this is obviously now this is where they're gonna flip out because like say see she's trying to destroy Sanders. Yeah. So I would like to give you the opportunity, madam, to address some of the things that people are throwing out, yelling and saying on everywhere basically about what's happened here. So for the first question, why are you targeting Sanders?
Oh, why are you targeting Bernie Sanders? So here's the thing. Everyone who saw the video at Netroots, I'm with the BLM National Network. I saw the video of what happened at Netroots just like everybody else. And in that video, Patrice says very specifically to O'Malley, you and every other Democratic presidential candidate should expect to be confronted and interrupted until you put forth solid proposals, no matter where you go in this country. So I heard that. So when the news dropped that Sanders was going to be coming to Seattle, there wasn't even a conversation that needed to be had. That's the status quo for presidential candidates. He hadn't at that point put out a criminal justice reform plan like O'Malley had. So it was very clear cut there. And also going after Sanders is super, super important. Because Sanders is like, right, he's supposed to be as far left and as progressive as we can possibly get, right? And in Seattle political context, I know that really, really well, right? We have hordes and hordes of white liberals and white progressives, and yet we still have all the same racial problems. So for us locally in our context, confronting Sanders was the equivalent of confronting the large white liberal Democrat leftist contingent that we have here in Seattle, who not only has not supported BLM in measurable ways, but is often very harmful and is upholding the white supremacist society that we live in locally. So that's part of why we felt the need to address him and his supporters locally. What we didn't know was that idea of the white liberal, the white moderate who's complicit in white supremacy, that idea would resonate with people nationally and internationally and spur into this larger conversation.
And so I want to be clear because I feel like people are going to be going through this, Imani, with a fine tooth comb.
Yep.
So the idea that you just laid out is specifically that that Democratic candidates will be challenged on this until they have a clear cut response. So what do you say to the people who say, well, why aren't you picketing Hillary?
Hillary is better. Has better Secret Service than Obama. I mean, like, it's just like, it's like hella cute when people are like, it's not like there was a stage and there was Hillary and Sanders and I ran over to Sanders. It's really the stupidest thing that people could. I just have nothing else to say other than that. It's just super stupid because it's also about accessibility.
I literally said this to someone earlier today when having this conversation. I was like, how easy would it be to get to the ex First Lady, ex Senator, ex Secretary of State? Like at this point, it was just a thing that happened. And also, she's not even doing these big rallies; she's doing these private dinners.
She's doing these private dinners that are invite only. I mean, it's positively ludicrous for people to think that these activists would not be protesting Hillary if they could get to her. And
also,
go ahead. Please go ahead.
I'll say this about Hillary. We don't. Hillary should not post face at all. But we're really intentional about what we do politically. So, right, at Netroots, O'Malley and Sanders were both confronted. Hillary's camp still had to respond to that, both in word and action. So recognizing, too, that addressing Sanders and confronting Sanders is changing the whole political landscape, period, and that Hillary does have to respond. And then I think we also have a political analysis about how Sanders is being used by the Democrats, that he's essentially being used to go around and sweep up all of this momentum, right, from grassroots movements, including Black Lives Matter, to only then later give it to Hillary when she wins the nomination. And so it's part of that understanding that you actually can still get at Hillary by going through Sanders.
And so the conversation, like, because when Tia Oso and Patrice Cullors was at the Netroots action, one of the things that they said numerous times is that this is a call out of the white progressive space as a whole, right? That this is something that there's been a problem around this for years, and that people come in and they feel like, oh, like we're allies, but you're not actually listening to us. We're not at the table, or we're not having these discussions. So, what do you say to people who say, well, why didn't you call the Sanders campaign or the Sanders organizers of this event and ask, could you be a part of it?
Part of it comes out of my personal politics and BLM politics, that everybody keeps saying that Black people need to be respectable, that they need to ask permission, that they need to work with the timetable that's been given to them. And I absolutely just rebuke and deny all of that. And so part of even how the action went is really funny to see people being like, they have a good message, but they're naive on their tactics, or they didn't mean to do the tactics. Like, the unrespectability and the tactics, the way we went about it, every single part of it was very intentional, and from a position of authority of that Black people don't need to be respectful. Black people don't need to go on your timetable. Black people don't need to reach out to Bernie Sanders. If anything, Bernie Sanders should have been courting before he went to any other major city. He should have been courting BLM. And even at that point, I haven't seen any politician that's done anything for Black lives. So I don't have any need to meet with them, period. I haven't seen anybody really, really willing to step it up. So there's a lot of ways that politicians are trying to get activists swept up in rhetoric and sitting around the table to do nothing but repress movements. And so the work that I do in particular is agitation work, of agitating the political scene, that people are having these conversations and that politicians are forced to do their own work and do their own reforms because of work that I've done on the ground.
Well, what would you say to the people who say that you're hurting your cause, that like you're turning people off from your cause?
I don't give a fuck about the white gays. I don't, and I never will. I don't. I literally don't. Like, pussy poppers don't give a fuck. Haters can keep rolling. I'm not respectable. We're in a fuss recession. Like, I don't care. I don't care. And the thing is like, the respectability part is so huge on this, right? Because if we say that Black Lives Matter and all Black Lives Matter, literally all, even our tactics can't all be respectable. Because my tactics also have to be reflective of Black people's humanity. That the person who has education, their life matters. The person who doesn't, their life matters. The person who talks respectable, their life matters. The person who doesn't matters. The person who claps that matters. The person who yells in your face matters. And so this whole notion that there are conditions on our humanity, fuck that. So I'm part of the work that I'm talking about, agitation work and unrespectability, is actually being so unrespectable because A, our lives are on the line, and I'm never going to privilege white feelings over Black lives. But B, part of that is declaring that no, you don't get to put conditions around our humanity. And so really what I've seen as the greatest outcome of everything that happened is it's been like other big moments, including the killing of Mike Brown, where you get to see within your personal networks and extended networks who's down, who's really about getting Black folk free, and who's not. And it's made everyone show their ass. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's really, really important because it's like I need to know who's with me and I know who's keeping me back and who's not really about that life. So I think the unrespectability really reveals that, and we've seen that in the conversation I've had today. People are like, oh, I can't believe people on my newsfeed are saying this and this and this. It's actually good for you to know that.
I've heard specifically people talk about the fact that just a lot of the actions that have happened in the past few years, from Trayvon to Eric Garner to Sandra Bland, that the fact is that this let them know about the racist that there was around them that they didn't know about yet,
right?
Because it's been kind of a litmus test overall about how people are being read, and it's very interesting about the fact that how people are being smeared at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because were you aware of of the fact that you are a Hillary plant and that you are making all that Hillary money? Were you aware of that?
Look, I need to get my check. That was my first response to that was, bitch, better have my money. Yes, like, please, give me that money. I'll appropriate those funds back to the hood. Like, let's do it. Hillary, this is a call out. If Hillary wants to give me some money, she should give me that. Please do.
Because I'm still amazed by this about the Hillary money, the Soros money, because apparently there's millionaires out here because they're getting all that Soros cash. And what about? I believe haven't you been labeled as a Christian fundamentalist, Palin
supporter? Yeah.
Ooh, actually, I do need to address that. That's actually really important for me to address because part of that is true. My parents are both Tea Partiers. So I'm mixed. My mom's white and my dad's Black, and they're both registered Tea Partiers. And that was how I was raised. Clearly, I'm not. That's not where I am because people like leave high school and they go to college and they like.
Right, because that's because. And do you mind if I ask how old are you?
I'm 24.
24. And so I believe the thing that they were pointing out, it was like they were saying like they knew you years ago when you had a Sarah Palin badge, which is about about 7 almost 8 years ago.
Yeah, she would have been like 16.
So you were she would be about 17 to 18 around that time. just going to college or something like that. And I found it really interesting about the idea that somehow because you might have had any thought that's not in line with progressives at this very moment ever, then your voice is then null and void.
Yeah, it's really funny, too, because locally here in Seattle, hood cats were like, yo, I don't care if you loved Palin up till 5 minutes before you ran up on that stage, had an epiphany, ran up there and held it down for black folks. Like, yes, I wish all the people would have a come to Jesus moment like that. So it's really just, it's been interesting with this whole thing. When we knew that we were going to do this, I was very nervous because I knew, okay, I'm going to be saying this content and it's going to be picked apart by national media. No one's actually engaged with any of the content I said, and it's been 100% derailment.
Yes, that I have noticed
racist,
that.
Sexist, classist, and credentialist me. And so I think that's really been interesting. But I do want to say I am a very devout evangelical Christian. I have been. That's well documented, and people who know me locally and nationally in my organizing work know that is why I do what I do. And so yes, I did run up there and confront Bernie Sanders because of my religious conviction. Absolutely. Are they right-wing religious? No, but they're religious in the fact that, like, my religion says you lay down your life for other people and the most marginalized. And so that's what I do.
Right. And
so yes, I guess I am a Christian extremist.
An ex Palin supporter. By the way, I think that's actually a very interesting point about this idea that you grew up with Tea Party parents. I mean, that's something that's very interesting. But obviously, I think a lot of people have had different breaks within their upbringing around things. I used to be religious, and I stopped being religious. People have different thoughts around things all the time. But it's the best part about it is that it's only a problem if you need to be taken down. Because if you were saying, right, if you had been if you would have went up there and said Sanders is the most amazing person I have ever met, everyone must vote for them, they would not be ripping apart the Palin part. They would actually even see she even used to be a Palin supporter, but now she sees the light and she likes Bernie. And that would have been the argument, but that's not how this is working now.
This whole thing has been I think we're just now starting to get to the point where people are actually able to have, like, political and cultural analysis about it. Because for the first night, it was like freaking Noah's Ark in white tears, yo. Like, it's just everybody in their feelings. Literally, everybody just having a visceral response to it. And so a lot of this has just been feelings, and derailment. And I think that's indicative of how committed we are as a society to our white supremacist system, both from Black people. I think with internalized oppression, people are, like, having to work through that of, like, oh yeah, why do I care that a white man got, like, lost his platform for half an hour to two Black women? And I think white folks too are, like, they're literally in that video, you can hear them screaming at us, Bernie's done so much for you, shut up. Like,
yeah, that's unbelievable.
That's kind of the thing that's, like, you say it and then you're like, wow, that was really dumb. And I just want to make a note too, about the actual action and what happened on stage. It's so interesting because we had an idea of what we wanted to happen, what we wanted to say, and then we got up on stage and people were incredibly violent with us. We were not prepared for how violent the crowd was and how violent that the organizers and Bernie Sanders were with us on stage. And that
what do you mean about that?
Happened a lot.
What do you mean about that? Please explain.
So when we got up on stage, and you can see in the video, I have my hands up, but I'm still walking forward. Every single man on that stage touched me and tried to physically restrain me. Every single one. And so on the stage, they're literally physically moving me. They're yelling us down. Because I thought after Netroots that people would be smarter politically, that they would, like, de-escalate the situation, step back. But that's not white fragility. People were so offended that how dare you touch the god Bernie Sanders. That people got really violent with us on stage. And then in the audience, people were like, Elon, like, this is why I didn't intend to cry, but the reason why I'm crying when I'm saying my life matters is because the crowd was they were white supremacists. I stand by that. They're white supremacist liberals. I'll say 1,000 times.
Would you say the whole crowd is that? Or because when we were talking about this, I said that when you made the statement that, like you said about screaming white racists, I said that you were referring to the people who were currently screaming at you being racist at the time. But are you saying that you were speaking to everyone on this, everyone in the audience?
I would say that anybody who hears me say that and thinks about their feelings first is a white supremacist.
Amen. If it ain't about you, don't make it about you. But
going back to that, they're literally screaming, "Get the police to drag her down, taser him." Somebody throws a water bottle at us. It was like being at a sit-in, and after the action, I was on the stairs, and we had, mind you, me and Mara were up on stage, but we had the rest of our BLM Black team there, and we had multiple allied groups who were there, knew what was going on, were playing supporting roles for us. So after the action, all these white people are coming up and physically confronting us, and we had white allies and accomplices who were literally making a physical barrier around us from media and these white folks or whatever. And I just broke down, and I'm like crying because I'm like, yo, my ancestors went through this so that I wouldn't have to.
Wow. But wait, you just acknowledged white allies at the same time, implying that you don't hate all white people?
My mom's white.
Thank you. Can I just say, my mom is white too. They're not Tea Partiers. My mom's a white Jew, and my dad's a Black Catholic, and they're hippies. But like, I get that all the time. This idea that you hate white people, you're racist against white people. It's like, I love my mother. My mother is white. Stop making assumptions about people based on how they look.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger question is not, do you hate white people, whatever. My question for white folks is, do you love Black people? Because a lot of people will frame it as, I don't hate Black people. Right. That's not the same of, do you love Black people? Are you personally accountable to Black people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my parents are Tea Partiers, but I called my parents after this happened, and it was like, and all the media fallout, and my parents were like, we don't understand your politics, but we support you. You're ride or die, and you need to keep doing what you're doing. So it's like, my mom at the end of the day, and I've had this conversation with my white family members, when I say Black Lives Matter, because you love Black people, you're like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, So I think it's really all about framing the question when people are like, oh, so you're saying you hate white people? Even if I did hate white people, I don't have the political or social power to oppress white people. And it's verifiably false that I don't. So flip that. The question is actually, do you love Black people to the extent that you are literally willing to sacrifice your life? Are you on some Underground Railroad type stuff? Or are you not? Because that's the tip I'm on. So I think framing is really important.
Absolutely. So I think you've clarified a lot of things. Is there anything that in this conversation that you feel like has been completely overlooked in how you're being framed, how the action's being framed, how Black Lives Matter is being framed? Because also there were talks of like supposedly that Black Lives Matter was disavowing you or distancing themselves from that. Where I actually pinged Patrice and Alicia, and Patrice was because there was a petition that says Black Lives Matter activists are calling for you to apologize, and both I loved it. And Patrice was like, "That ain't us." And so,
yeah, and I spoke to Patrice this morning.
Yeah, and so like you said, like you how's BLM National looking at this?
Right. So I think this is really interesting, because the movement is still formulating and changing. And what I didn't realize about this action was like, it definitely sparked a national conversation. It's radicalizing people. It's making people talk about respectability politics. But it's even challenging all of us within, I think, BLM too, on where we are in all of those places. To even, because you can get caught up in the rhetoric of, oh, they weren't polite or they were whatever. And so it's really forced us to get really grounded on what do we do, why do we do it. So I think, in a lot of ways, none of us were really prepared for this moment or how big this would become, but it's been really exciting, and it's actually fueled the movement a lot, because it's like, this is the direction we need to go. We actually need to keep pushing people to dismantle the system, right? To see more holes and more holes. And so I think the thing that I would clarify that might have been missed or whatever in this conversation, is that I don't have faith in politicians. I don't have faith in the electoral process. It's well documented that that doesn't work for us, no matter who you are. So my gaze is not towards politicians and getting them to do something in particular. I think they will change what they do based off of what I do, but that's not my center. My center is using electoral politics as a platform, but also agitating so much that people continue to question the system that we're in as they're doing it, and that we start to dismantle it. Because I refuse to believe that the system that we're in is the only option that we have. And so you hear people saying that, right? Bernie supporters. Well, he's your best option. It's like, if he's our best option, then I'm burning this down. Mm-hmm. Like, so I think it's teaching people. It's literally blowing up. This is why the respectability thing is so important. Is you blow it up so big and so unrespectably that you can show people the possibilities outside of the system that they're stuck in. And so that's why I do agitation work. So I'm not for any politician, but I'm definitely for anything that pulls people further left, anything that gets people asking more questions and gets us closer to actually dismantling the system that has never, ever, ever, ever done anything for Black people and never will. So I'm really trying to see my people get free by any means possible, and help folks along to that process.
Well, ma'am, I thank you for coming on and speaking for yourself in the midst of all of this. I know that you guys you've been inundated with a lot of press requests and people calling in trying to get you on their space, and I appreciate a lot that you took the time to come on here to have the conversation with us, because I believe
and Elon, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You guys are the first media that I've talked to.
Oh, wow.
Since it happened.
Wow. Thank you. And that's very much appreciated. That's because I feel like this conversation is something that needs to happen. And it also, we need to be able to control how these stories are told and the narrative around it, because obviously a lot of mainstream spaces will twist and break and just and at times even maliciously misrepresent things that have happened. And that's why in Black media is in fact so important. And I appreciate you coming on. And I also appreciate the kind words that you actually sent us before you even came on. That was like that meant a lot, and it's very much appreciated.